Today, I will tell you about a murder case that happened in the UK. This is a murder case that took place in the UK. It is not only one of the most bizarre cases in British history, but also because the victim's cause of death was extremely puzzling, a puzzling cause of death, and various contradictory pieces of evidence made it one of the most famous cases in the world. It has even been joked about online as the Even Conan Can't Solve It series. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Himalaya Investigation Bureau. I am Himalaya. Let's dive into today's case together. Gareth Williams was born in 1978 on Anglesey Island in Wales. From a young age, he showed amazing talent in mathematics. At 17, he earned a first-class mathematics degree from a Welsh university. A degree in mathematics. A few years later, he earned a doctorate at the University of Manchester. He obtained his PhD there. After that, he went on to study at the world-renowned University of Cambridge, continuing his studies at the prestigious University of Cambridge. However, he did not complete all his courses at Cambridge and dropped out. The reason wasn't that he couldn't keep up with the pace of a top university. On the contrary, it was because his abilities were too outstanding. Before graduating, he had already attracted the attention of British intelligence agencies. So, in 2001, as one of the UK's main intelligence agencies, the Government Communications Headquarters offered him a position. They hoped he could work on code breaking. Gareth happily accepted this offer and truly lived up to everyone's expectations. As a core member of the team, he fully utilized his mathematical talent in his work. In 2009, he even helped the team win the highest international award for code breaking. But like many geniuses, although Gareth performed excellently at work, his personality was extremely introverted and shy. He was not good at socializing. Fortunately, this didn't affect his work, right? Over the next 10 years, Gareth's reputation in the industry grew by the day, eventually catching the attention of MI6, the well-known secret intelligence service. This is the UK's most famous and highest level intelligence agency. So MI6 sent Gareth a job offer, hoping he would join the world's most renowned intelligence agency. Gareth valued this opportunity highly because he had admired top spies like James Bond since childhood. If he could join MI6, it was like fulfilling a long-held dream of his. This was also the highest recognition of his abilities. So Gareth accepted the job without hesitation and moved to London. But it wasn't long before Gareth began to regret it because the working environment at MI6 was very different from his previous job. There was a huge difference. We mentioned before, Gareth is a very introverted and shy person. After finishing work, he preferred to go home alone and be by himself, and he didn't socialize much with colleagues. His biggest hobby was cycling. But after moving to London, not only was the work competition intense, but everyone liked to throw all kinds of lavish parties, and the lifestyle was quite flashy. And Gareth, who liked to keep to himself, became an outsider in everyone's eyes. Gareth complained to his family more than once, saying the work pressure was very high now. Perhaps because of this pressure, Gareth applied for annual leave from headquarters. But after the leave ended, he did not return to work at the London headquarters. For some unknown reason, MI6 had no investigations or records regarding this situation. This is very strange, isn't it? Even for ordinary people, if you don't come back to work after vacation, you can bet the boss will look for you, and that makes perfect sense, especially since this is the UK's highest national-level secret intelligence agency. An employee suddenly disappears, and no one shows any concern. That's very unusual. It wasn't until Gareth's sister found she couldn't contact him for several days that she reported it to the police. Only then did everyone realize that Gareth hadn't shown up for work for several days. So, on the 23rd of August, the police arrived at Gareth's rented apartment to investigate. They knocked on the door, but got no response, so the police got the apartment key from the landlord and opened the door. It was a two-story apartment, and they found nothing unusual on the first floor, then went upstairs to the bedroom, where everything seemed normal. Then they entered the bathroom, which also looked clean and tidy. The only strange thing was a large red suitcase placed in the bathtub, and furthermore, the suitcase zipper was locked with a padlock. Normally, who would put a suitcase in the bathtub, right? So the police found a way to open the suitcase. Inside the bag was none other than Gareth's already decomposed body, and the key to the padlock was placed right under the body. Everyone can think about this. If you were the investigating officer, what would you think? This is clearly a murder case, right? But let's not jump to conclusions. Would anyone use such a strange method to deal with a suicide? Even if Gareth crawled into the luggage bag himself, then how did he manage to lock the bag from the outside? The police initially started the investigation from a murder perspective. They launched a formal inquiry. We won't go into the specific details, but let's just discuss the investigation results. First, no fingerprints were found on or inside the bathtub edges, nor on the zipper pull or luggage straps. No fingerprints were obtained. Likewise, no fingerprints were found on the padlock or key, which further confirmed that Gareth was murdered. To be more precise, there had to be a second person present at the time of his death. Because if it was suicide, there would be no reason nor possibility to erase fingerprint traces. Think about it. He would have to first climb into the bathtub, then squeeze himself into a very small luggage bag, zip it up from the inside, and lock the padlock. This series of complex actions is almost impossible to complete, and to do so without leaving any fingerprints is nearly impossible. So the fingerprints were most likely wiped off from outside after Gareth got into the luggage bag. Some have suggested he might have worn gloves, but there was no evidence of that at the scene. Gareth's iPhone was found on a nearby table. The system had been restored to factory settings. Investigation revealed the reset date was the 15th of August, which was also the last date. He was captured on apartment surveillance. Later, this was used as an important basis for determining the date of death. As for the cause of death, according to the coroner's examination, there were no wounds on Gareth's body, nor signs of struggle. Toxicology reports showed no poisoning or alcohol consumption before death. But due to severe decomposition, the exact cause of death could not be determined. However, it is speculated that he most likely died from suffocation due to lack of oxygen. In other words, he must have been alive when he entered the luggage bag. Speaking of the decomposed body, there is another suspicious point. It was August at the time, the hottest time of the year, but the thermostat indoors was set to the highest temperature. This accelerated the decomposition of the body. After this bizarre murder case was made public, it attracted widespread social attention. Here are some common speculations. Some say it was done by the Russian mafia because Gareth had previously been involved in investigating their money laundering activities. This was related to the mafia's money laundering investigation. This theory has some merit because, judging from the method of the crime, it was very professional and clean, leaving no evidence behind. Clearly, the work of organized professional criminals. But it's important to note that Gareth, as an employee of the UK's top intelligence agency, had very strict security measures at his residence. So how did they break through all the obstacles in the basement abroad without anyone noticing? Personally, I think this possibility is low. Another theory is that the real culprit was MI6 because Gareth had access to some internal corruption information. This explains why after Gareth's leave ended, he didn't return to work, and no one reported this incident. In fact, an unnamed former MI6 agent told CNN in an interview that before the police found Gareth's body, they had already sent someone to erase all fingerprints and data. All fingerprints and information were erased, including restoring the phone to factory setting. This is currently the most plausible theory, in my opinion. This theory can perfectly explain all the doubts in the case. The last theory is also the most controversial one, is that Gareth died by suicide. Investigations into Gareth's computer revealed that he frequently visited bondage-related websites, and previously he had once tied himself to the bed, unable to free himself, eventually calling the landlord for help, who rescued him. Regarding this possibility, the investigators conducted on-site experiments Two investigators attempted over 400 experiments. They tried to fit themselves inside the suitcase, then lock it from the outside, but all attempts failed. However, supporters of this theory also have explanations. First, Gareth loved cycling and was very fit. His physique was very strong, so he could more easily squeeze into the suitcase, and with his high intelligence, perhaps he used a method that remains unknown today and locked the padlock from the inside. In the end, after a very long investigation, including forensic experts insisting that when Gareth died, there was a second person present, the police ultimately classified Gareth's death as an accident. The implication is Gareth accidentally killed himself while playing a bondage game, but this completely fails to explain how Gareth managed to squeeze into the suitcase and lock it while ill, and the mystery of the missing fingerprints. Understandably, the entire society, including Gareth's family, could not accept this conclusion. But the police have closed the case unless strong evidence emerges. Otherwise, the truth may be buried forever. Along with Gareth's passing, I wonder, smart viewers watching, what are your thoughts on this strange case? Feel free to leave your opinions in the comments. See you in the next video.